So you're an RF technician. You're out in the field, and you've got that gut feeling. This isn't just random interference. You suspect it's intentional jamming. But, a hunch isn't proof. So how do you get from suspicion to solid evidence? What are the tools you actually need in your kit? Well, let's get into it.
First things first, we've got to cover the official stuff. Now, this is part 18 of a big 20-part series that's based on a really detailed report from RFI detectives. And just to be super clear, everything we're talking about here is for educational and interference mitigation purposes only. The use of radio jamming gear is, super illegal in most places and comes with some hefty penalties. This whole tutorial is built for you, the RF technician, to help you do your job, to identify, locate, and report these jamming signals the right way. All right, let's start with what you'd have in the truck, ready to roll. We're talking about professional-grade field gear. This is your go-to tool, the thing you grab when you're on the ground hunting for a signal. And yeah, right off the bat you can see we are not messing around. We're talking about a price range of $5,000 all the way up to $50,000. So this isn't some toy you pick up online. This is serious, professional equipment for people who need results they can trust, period.
So what does that kind of money actually get you? Well, you're looking at top-tier handheld spectrum analyzers from companies like Rohde & Schwarz or Keysight. The key here is what they can do. You get calibrated measurements, which is absolutely critical for accuracy. They're ruggedized because, let's face it, your work environment isn't exactly an office. And with features like real-time displays and GPS tagging, you can see exactly what's happening right where it's happening. It's how you pinpoint that source.
Okay, so that's the gear you take out with you. But what about the bigger picture? Let's level up to enterprise-level spectrum monitoring. Think of this less as a hunting tool and more like a permanent security guard, the guardian of the spectrum for a critical location. And you guessed it, the price tag takes a big leap too. These enterprise systems start at 50 grand and just go up from there. This is the kind of setup you'd find protecting an airport, a major data center, or any other piece of critical infrastructure where you just can't afford any interference. The real magic with this gear is the automation. We're talking real-time spectrum analyzers that have a 100% probability of intercept. What that means is nothing gets by, not even the quickest, sneakiest little burst of a signal. They can spot anomalies all by themselves, watch tons of channels at once, and even hook into a whole network of sensors to give you a constant wide-area view of the airwaves.
This table sums it up perfectly. On one hand, you've got your professional-grade gear. It's handheld, it's more affordable, and it's designed for when you need to get out there and actively find something. On the other hand, you have the enterprise level. A much bigger investment, sure, but it's for fixed, automated, round-the-clock monitoring. Basically, two different tools for two very different but related jobs.
Now look, having the best tool in the world is only half the story. We've got to talk about methodology, because accuracy is what turns a bunch of squiggly lines on your screen into something that can actually be used in the real world. It's what turns data into legally defensible evidence.
And it really comes down to these three essential steps. First, you have to measure your noise figure, so you know the baseline sensitivity of your whole system. Second, you have to compensate for any signal you lose in your cables, because you always lose some. And third, and this is the big one, you need to apply antenna factor correction. That's the math that turns a simple voltage reading into an actual, accurate field strength measurement.
When you do all of that correctly, you achieve the gold standard, NIST traceability. So what on earth is that? Put simply, it means your measurement can be traced all the way back through an unbroken chain to the national standards. It's the thing that makes your data authoritative. It's what makes it legally credible. Let's just pause on that phrase for a second. An unbroken chain of comparison to national standards. I know it sounds like a bunch of technical jargon, but it is the absolute foundation of everything we're talking about. Without this, your measurements are just numbers on a screen. With it, they become facts. Facts that a body like the FCC can actually take action on.
So let's pull all this together. What's the big takeaway here? It's that having a super expensive piece of equipment isn't the point. It's about the rigorous, careful process you use to turn what that gear is telling you into solid, undeniable evidence.
And this right here is the bottom line. It doesn't matter if it's handheld or enterprise grade. The right tool, when you combine it with the right methodology, with all the calibrations and corrections and that NIST traceability we talked about, that's what separates a simple guess from a prosecutable offense. It's how you, the technician, deliver the proof.
Which brings us to one last question for you. You know about the tools, you understand why accuracy is everything. So, are you ready for the field? because in our next session, we're going to get into the specific monitoring programs and protocols you'll need to put all this into practice.